what are some things you guys would like to see or experience more of? What are some areas where you feel, would give you better insight into the game, or things that you would appreciate? That feedback, first of all, gets you an answer to that question. Like you get to find out whether or not you are serving them effectively. And I think depending on that feedback, you can kind of pick and choose what's going to be the most effective way for you to go about making any adjustments. As far as the cost of making certain changes or doing certain things over against the level of response it's going to get.
Yeah, and another one and this will be kind of a cool, maybe a mini thought exercise for you guys to think about. Because one of the things I think is the best way to truly overcome all these feelings is to know that you're leading with your audience interest in mind. Now, let me back up a minute. I'm not saying you're doing everything strictly for your audience, because that can easily convert into like trend chasing. You don't want to can't talk right now. Chase trends or anything like that. But you do want to be, empathetic and keep in mind of what your audience interests are. And the exercise is this. And I'm not saying go out and create an about page here, but this is an easy one I think anybody can kind of relate and understand. Of an about page, let's say you have a website and you have an about page on it, right? Chances are the about page is going to be about you, right? So, but and this is the challenge, how do you create an about page that shows that you are really about your audience? It's simple. You just show how passionate and everything else are, and an about page is great because you can describe this, is saying how passionate you are for creating that experience for players. Because now what happens is your about page shows something that is about you, but you're making it about your audience. And when people see that, and this is just one example, but if you take that mindset and apply it to different areas of your marketing, how you're sharing that information, how you're asking questions, when you apply that mindset, what will happen is people, without you coming out and just saying, hey, we care about you, what's happening is the people you're talking to and engaging with are like, wow, this person, without even saying it, shows that they care about me. And that's why I like that about page example is a good one, because a lot of times, like I said, people always think, oh, it's about me. But if you make your intentions and everything else about your audience, that will convey and come over, and they will reward you for that, whether it's indirectly or directly, or at the very least say thank you. And it's a good way to really overcome that feeling that we talked about before in terms of like, am I really doing a good job serving my audience, or having those fears of putting yourself out there. If you go in with that mindset of you're doing everything possible to serve your audience, and obviously to a degree serving yourself, but you make it more about them, and convey and show that, there's no way you're going to really have that ultimate feeling or fear moving forward. I find it hard to believe. Obviously there'll be one-off cases, like sometimes you get trolls and things like that, but then that's just them. That's their problem. Don't make it yours, because it's not. It's clear them. But still, making sure you really keep your audience's mind in place and check and stuff is probably the best way you can overcome those feelings. All right, so we talked about a lot here, Mustapha. Let's discuss some takeaways here. So what do you think's a good one that, number one, we can probably say is a good takeaway?
Yeah, I would say really, and listen to this as many times as you need to, it'll help, but really understand what it means to serve your audience, and also acknowledge that that's going to be different for everyone.
Yeah, totally. Another one I would say is know that you're not being salesy, but you are doing things to serve your audience's interested. So again, like we said before, some things that you're doing might come off as salesy, but just, you're doing this. You would, if you're not getting out there and doing a lot more promotion or just doing things to get the word out, you're actually underserving your audience. So know that you're not being salesy by getting yourself out there And because these are all things that you need to do to really serve your audience. Because if you're not doing them, then you're underserving them. All right, and what's another one, would you say?
Definitely, I would say focus on, and this does tie in, to what we were saying previously. I say a couple of them are getting to know your audience and their interests, and then also being clear with your intentions. So I think those go, hand in hand as far as making sure that those interests align with your intentions. So if they're looking for passion projects, things that are kind of tied to people's missions, personal missions, as far as the stories they want to tell and the experiences they want to create, communicating those intentions only makes your audience more committed.
Yeah, and to follow up on that, when you're communicating those intentions, make sure that you're being very clear, because I know sometimes we might feel internally that or how we're saying things, we're being clear with our intentions, but if you don't kind of like step back sometimes and really check yourself and how you're saying those, it might not be clear, and if it isn't, then that poses a potential problem where you could lose people. So always making sure that you're clear with your intentions, because it just makes it one more thing easier for them and less to like put much brain power behind, because there's a lot of stuff going on out there. And last but not least, again, we kind of said this a lot, but it's still just as important. Always keep your audience in mind, and like we just mentioned too, like really keeping their interests in mind, and what are you doing to kind of really show and convey that. Don't just say that you care for them, but like how do you show that? And that in itself can be a challenge too. But once you understand on ways and work with it, ways to really show how you care. And that example again that I mentioned about the about page, that's one. It's kind of telling a little bit about that, but it's a good example. How are you showing that you care for your audience, and how are they picking up on it? And then, so again, always keep your audiences in mind. All right. Well, I think that pretty much covers it today in terms of what we were talking about and how to serve your audience with the right intent. Anything else you would like to add to that, Mustapha?
Yeah, I would just say, in the spirit of what we've been talking about today, if you, as our audience, feel there are, ways in which you feel you've been served by our approach to things over against even things you'd be interested in seeing us do in the future, we can't promise the integration of every piece of feedback, but it's all worth having.
Yeah, totally. And a quick selfish plug here too. Another way of showing that too is if you have the time, just go out and write a review, those types of things. But you've heard me talk about it before. you all know it's there. But again, it's just one other way to kind of really show us. But to Mustapha's point, by all means, feel free to contact us. Let us know what you think. There's some of you who already do, and we really appreciate you. And even if you're unable to or haven't yet, that's okay too. We appreciate all of our listeners. So again, thank you very much. All right, Mustapha, I think that pretty much covers it, man. So, hey, thank you for joining me today and having this awesome discussion about how to serve your audience with the right intent. Oh,
it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Hey, everyone, and thank you for listening to another episode of Indie Game Movement. I'm Andrew Pappas, your host, and the show's producer is Mustapha Price. A special thanks to Taisuke Kimura for creating the show's theme and Donnie Wilson for the logo design. If you enjoy and value the content, you can support us by visiting our Patreon, which is patreon.com/IGM podcast, and select a tier that meets your needs. Show notes for this episode can be found by visiting rengenmarketing.com/the number of this episode. Rengen Marketing is a consulting marketing company that helps indie devs with their marketing efforts. So if you're looking for helpful marketing content or marketing plan template for your current game, then please visit rengenmarketing.com. And as always, thanks for being such great listeners, and we'll see you next time on Indie Game Movement.